Hey, I'm Mark Romanack, and you're watching another episode of Fishing 411. This week's episode, we're down on Lake Erie. Not going to tell you whether we're in Ohio or in Michigan, but I will tell you this, we got both licenses on board. Well, obviously we're fishing crankbaits today, and the most important thing about a crankbait is making sure that it runs right. It's called tuning, and most people don't understand. They just think that they can buy a crankbait, tie it on their line, put it in the water, and it's going to catch fish. And in some cases, that's true. But most of the time, a crankbait won't dive straight down into the water. What'll happen is it'll kind of run a little left or a little right of center, and that's a bad thing. And the reason it's a bad thing is because that lure won't have its natural action, and it most certainly won't dive to its natural depth. So tuning the crankbait is a critical part of crankbait fishing, and we're going to show you exactly how to do it today.
There's an eye tie right on every crankbait, and if the bait's running a little bit to the left, you run that eye tie and bend it just a little bit to the right. If it's running a little bit to the right, you bend that eye tie a little bit to the left. And it's kind of a trial and error process until you get that bait running perfectly straight in the water. One of the big mistakes that I see out on the water is guys try to tune their crankbaits right in the prop wash. There's a lot of disturbed water at the back of the boat, and you don't really get a true running bait there. Come to the side of your boat, and that's where you want to tune that crankbait. Making sure you have a tuned crankbait is going to put a lot more fish in the boat for you.
This one I don't think is going to be a little one. You know, for folks who haven't done planer board fishing like this with inline planer boards, it is amazingly exciting. What ends up happening is that you're pulling these boards out to the side, you're getting your bait spread out there, and all of a sudden big fish bites and that board just rockets back. Man, it is very exciting. In this instance, it happened to be the outside board, so I've got to be a little bit patient here. I tripped the board, now I've got to let that fish kind of swing around to the back of the boat because I want to reel this fish in without contacting any of my other lines. So far, so good. Now, what happens when you're putting pressure on a fish like this is that those hooks are cutting into the fish's mouth, and it's actually digging a hole in the fish's mouth. Then as he starts shaking his head, of course, it's pretty easy for that lure to come unbuckled. So the key is slow and steady. Don't put too much pressure on the fish. When he runs, stop reeling. When he stops running, you start reeling. Look at this board, man. This baby's just sagging here, Jake. I'm going to need a little help here, man.
Yeah, I'd love to help you.
Got a fish on the middle board, too. Got a double header going here, my friend. I guess we're just going to have to take them one at a time.
And that's the cool thing about Lake Erie, it gets me so excited. Is, you know, you're talking earlier about catching small fish, but then also catching big fish. And if I got to sort through the small fish to have fish like the one you got on right now, then it's totally worth it.
You're darn right it is. It is definitely worth it. Almost ready for the net, my son. Whoa.
Nice fish, Dad.
Oh my goodness, we'll take that any day of the week. Any day of the week. Baby. Now that's what we're talking about right there. That's a little bit more representative of what we're hoping to catch today. Beautiful Lake Erie walleye. And my way of catching them, crankbait's my favorite way of catching them.
Hey Dad, there's a fish on my inside board. That board ripped back. Oh man.
Hard to keep lines in the water here right now.
We've been fishing the last couple days, just kind of pre-fishing for this show. And this early morning bite's been a lot better. Once that sun gets high, it's been a little bit slower. This has been kind of a weird spring. It's been a real slow warm up. We haven't had very much rain and the water's very clean. So when you have clean water, these early morning bites seem to be a lot better. When you got dirtier water, those fish seem to feed all day, but you really have to capitalize on this first morning light when this water's this clean. But the way that board went back, I'll wake up early to see that happen. Wow.
Oh yes,
Nice
Jake.
fish.
All right.
Oh, off in the net too.
Look at that. That's indicative of crankbait fishing.
Oh, there you go. Just another chunky early summer walleye. It's a nice male. You know, a crankbait is only as good as the hooks that are on it. That fish came right off in the net, and luckily I kept steady pressure on that fish. But making sure that your crankbaits have sharp hooks is what's going to put fish like this in the boat. You have dull hooks, you're going to watch a lot of these fish swim away at the back of the boat.
You know, the crankbait bite on Lake Erie is world famous. Everybody knows you can come to Lake Erie and catch fish on crankbaits. Most people, though, are thinking about it in the springtime, and they're also thinking about it in the fall. And that's when the big fish are primarily caught, is in the spring and the fall. But you can catch fish on crankbaits all summer long on Lake Erie as well. Right now, what we're in is a transition period. It's transitioning between spring and summer. And so the baits that we use in cold water and the baits we use in warmer water in the summer are a little bit different. You need to speed up your action, and you need to speed up your trolling speed to have effectiveness at catching these fish in the warmer water. It's exactly what we're doing right now, bumping our speeds up a little bit, using the crankbaits with a little bit more action than what we would have used earlier in the year, and it's working great.
Additional considerations provided by Lowrance Electronics. Find, navigate, dominate.
Additional considerations provided by Fishhawk Electronics. Trolling without a fishhawk is called boating.
In the cold water, when we first start fishing in the springtime, settle action baits like stick baits are typically going to be your best producers. And then as the water starts to warm up a little bit, it gets above that 50-degree threshold and pushes in towards 60 degrees, we start transitioning to baits with a little bit more action. Shad-style baits, minnow divers, baits with a little wider action are going to be a little bit better producers at that time of year. Then at the backside of this, when summer's gone and fall hits again, and that water starts cooling back down again, we go right back to those settle action baits that we caught them on in the springtime. So you can catch them year-round on crankbaits. You just have to change the types of lures you're using to be effective.
That board went back fast, Dad. Man, it just ripped back.
I was just thinking that maybe it was time to pull lines and head back up where we caught our first few fish, but apparently they're scattered around out here a little bit.
Yeah.
You're getting these pods.
And these fish are mixed around. There's so many small walleyes in Lake Erie right now. That's a great thing. The last 2 years we've had some really good year classes, but there's still big fish mixed in. And there's a lot of different ways you can target these summer walleyes or this early summer walleyes. But when you start talking about crankbaits, kicking up your speed a little bit faster, you start targeting those bigger fish. We don't have to sort through as much white bass and white perch, or even those smaller walleyes. It seems like the fish that are biting and the most aggressive are the higher quality, bigger fish. You gonna grab that board for me, Dad?
I sure will. It was nice. This was on the inside board. We didn't have to clear no lines, no nothing. That's a good looking fish right there.
I've just been trying to get all my lines out on one side.
Good looking fish, Jake. Good looking fish. Oh man.
Oh, Dad, what a fish. Oh, a little closer. Got a nice fish, Dad. Wow.
Check that out. Flip out of that. Look at that. That's the way you want them. Flip right out of the net like on cue.
Just another gorgeous Lake Erie walleye, Dad. This is so much fun. There's really, I don't know if there's any more style of trolling that I like than crankbait fishing. We do a lot of it in a lot of different styles of fishing, but I get charged up when you start talking big walleyes and crankbaits, man.
All right, man, let's box that one up. Looks like we're gonna eat good this weekend.
Okay.
You know, you get towards the end of May and you get into early June, most of the people who are gonna fish Lake Erie are gonna be targeting walleyes with spinners. They're gonna be fishing night crawler harnesses. And that's a great option, and that catches a lot of fish. But the problem with night crawlers at this time of year is that there's a lot of other non-target fish in the water you're going to be catching. You're going to be catching sheephead, you're going to be catching lots of white bass, and you're going to be catching lots of white perch. And I think we demonstrated today with crankbaits that we caught our walleyes very nicely and only had just a few trash fish in the process. So by switching to crankbaits, you can kind of save yourself the grief of having to sort through all those less desirable fish on your way to trying to get a walleye limit. Well, you're going to see a lot of, oops, got a fish on the inside board here. Good, pounder. Jake, I'll let you have that. Take. We're trying to talk about how to sharpen a hook on a crankbait, getting bit again. That's a beautiful thing. Lake Erie is just on fire right now. Like Jake was saying, we've had a couple of really good year classes.
I'll grab that board for you, Dad.
Oh, okay. Prior to 2014 and 2015 and 2016, we hadn't had a good year class in Lake Erie since 2003. Now that's a long time. You have to understand that the walleyes that we're catching here are all natural reproduced. They don't stock Lake Erie. So these are wild fish. So we're completely dependent upon natural reproduction. So that's why we get so excited about catching all these little fish, is because we know it just means good things for Lake Erie in the future.
That don't look like a little one though, Dad.
Well, this one's not a big one, but it's definitely going to measure. I'd say he's going to measure.
Oh yeah, that's still a really high quality fish. Yeah, I'll take these 20 inches all day, Dad. That's a good fish.
Another really nice fish. We've caught several year classes of fish already today. We've caught fish that are about 2 years old. We've caught fish that are about 3 years old. This one here is probably between 4 and 5 years old. It takes 3 to 4 years for walleyes to reach their legal size limit in Lake Erie. That's because there's so much forage here. They grow really, really fast. So once we get a good spawn and we get a good year class of fish, we know that we're going to be able to enjoy those fish for year after year after year, because a walleye like this, if we hadn't caught him today and kept him, this fish could potentially live 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. So they're a tremendous resource. You're going to see us sharpening hooks an awful lot today, and the reason for that is that you want to keep these hooks as sticky sharp as possible. Even a premium crankbait that has premium hooks on it, after you've caught a few fish, those hooks are naturally going to get dull. So you've got to touch them up all the time to keep them sticky sharp. If you don't do that, what will happen is you'll get that crankbait and that fish right to the back of the boat. You'll be just getting ready to net it. It'll shake its head and out pops the lure. Sticky sharp hooks land fish. It's just that simple.
Out of all the different styles of trolling, crankbait trolling is by far the most efficient. For one reason, it's because you can go fast. You can cover a lot of water. But also, if you catch a fish on, say, your outside board, the board just goes ripping back, and then maybe that fish gets off and shoots back forward. If you were fishing crawler harnesses, you'd have to bring that board in, change the crawler out, and get it back out. With crankbaits, it's not like that. If you lose a fish, you just leave it out there, and it continues to fish. So crankbait trolling, without a doubt, is the most efficient way to get the job done.
Additional considerations provided by the Ultimate Sports Show Tour, Michigan's premier sports shows.
Additional considerations provided by Motor Guide, engineered for anglers.
A pretty cool feature you can do with your Lowrance HDS touchscreen unit is you can screenshot fish that are on your screen. So you can show them to your buddies. It's kind of cool. You go right onto your screen here and you can say, you know, there's some fish there. What you do is you put your pages button and the power button and you push them together and hold them for a second. And what happens is a thing comes up that says screen captured. Now you have a screenshot. So all you have to do now is go into your file and you can pull up that actual screenshot. You can put them on Facebook, send them to the world, and show everyone that you're on some big fish. So that's pretty cool. You go right to your file, My Files, and there'll be a folder right in there that says screenshot. You touch that and you have your screenshots. Then you can go back and you can see exactly those fish that you just went over.
Well, no secrets this time on Fishing 411. You can see where we're fishing. We're right out in front of what's called Toledo Light. It's one of the more iconic spots in all of the Great Lakes. It's near the mouth of the Maumee River, and it marks the shipping channel out in front of Toledo, Ohio.
Nice fish. When you're releasing your planer boards and having them swing to the back of the boat, being patient is key. And when you have a big fish on, it really swings to the back of the boat fast. But some of these smaller walleyes, and even these barely legal walleyes, just don't swing to the back of the boat very fast. So be patient, because if you reel too fast, you'll reel right over top of your other line. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll put a tube right here, a rod holder right there, and when I release it, I'll just set it in this rod holder, giving it a little bit of time to swing to the back of the boat. If you do that and you're a little patient, you'll deal with a lot less tangles, and fishing will be a lot easier.
There's also some savvy in how you take off the planer board. Obviously, I'm taking the planer board off here, but you see how I've got my hand here. I'm holding the fish. I can feel it thumping. I'm going to pull my arm out there. Jake's going to reel right down, and I let go of that line. There's no slack in the line. That way, you're going to have less likelihood of that fish getting off. Remember, you give these fish just an inch of slack, and they're going to spit that bait, and they're going to come unbuckled.
We'll have to put him on the board and measure him, but I think this one's going to be a little small. This one's going to have to go back. And if he's not touching the line, he's just barely touching the line. That's a little close for me, so I'm gonna put that fish back. But this fish will literally, by the end of the summer, be more than legal. And by next year, you're talking about 16, 17-inch fish. So these fish grow fast. We're gonna get this one back.
Okay, I just got my crankbait set back behind the boat, and as you can see, we're using offshore tackle side planer boards to get our lures out to the side. We have this board rigged with something called a Tattle flag, and you can see that it's a spring-loaded articulated flag system. What that does is it allows us to tell when we get these small fish on. Now obviously when we catch a good walleye, that board rips back. It's real easy to tell you've got a fish on. But when you catch some of these 10, 12, 13, 14-inch walleyes, you could drag them around and never know that you had them on if you don't have this Tattle flag system. It works beautifully. And the way I hook it up is super simple. All I do is I grab the line and I spin it a few times with my finger to create a loop. Then I take that line and I put it in the front release and I pull it up a little bit so there's just a little tiny loop left there. Then I take the line again and I put it in the back release. The back release has got a pin in it, so I put it behind the pin and then I pull a little bit of slack line. What I want is I want that flag system to be able to articulate properly. Once I get it there, all I have to do is drop it in the water, let it sit out to the side, and we're in business. Outside's ripping back, Jake.
Oh, grab it here. And release it. And that's perfect on cue. You know, Dad was just talking about how we set up our board so we can release them. And this makes for a lot more fun. You don't have to fight that board all the way up to the boat. You get to fight the fish. And when you're talking about these big walleyes that we've been catching this morning, not having that fish fighting the resistance of the board is really important. You just need to catch a few more fish, and those fish don't get off as easy because when they want to go to take a run, it's between you and the fish. And you have that rod and also the stretch of the monofilament to absorb those head shakes. When the board is hooked up and you're fighting the board all the way to the boat, it's kind of tough because when that fish wants to turn, it's actually fighting the board and you lose a couple fish because of it. So this way that we're rigging the boards, we can stack up multiple lines aside and we seem to catch a few more fish. Don't lose those fish as easily. This fish is thumping pretty good, Dad.
I'm gonna duck under here and see about getting that board off for you. All yours, Jake.
You got up closer to the boat, that crankbait swung around and caught the side of him.
That's all right, we'll take them any way we can get them. Good job, Jakers. Good job. Clown got this boy. Well, what we can see happened here, of course the fish is caught here in the corner of the mouth. The crankbait spins around and it zapped him in the side, and that's why he came in kind of funny like that. That's one of the things about crankbaits is they do have a lot of hooks on them. And of course you're going to hook fish a little bit weird occasionally. But man, they are effective tools at putting walleyes in the boat. This guy is not having a happy day.
Additional considerations provided by ProCure, ruthlessly effective bait sets.
You know, we've already talked about the fact that we're fishing the Ohio-Michigan line of Lake Erie. We actually launched at a place called Bulls Harbor, and that's in Michigan. If you haven't seen the Bulls Harbor launch, it's impressive. It's one of the biggest launches in the state. It's one of the busiest launches in the state. A lot of great fishing around here, not just walleye fishing either. Not only can you come out here and catch great walleyes, but there's yellow perch here. There's world-class smallmouth fishing here as well, so there's a lot that this area offers. And it's the end of May. In fact, I think today is the last day of May. So all of May, all of June is when you're going to see the most pressure here, the most people fishing. Incredibly good fishing during that time of year.
That's a nice fish, Dad.
Yeah, I misjudged this one. I thought it was going to be smaller. Definitely
I got him.
Decent fish.
Good fish.
That's what we're talking about right there. Classic eating size walleye from Lake Erie. 2 great fish sandwiches on that, buddy.
Perfect.
I love it. When it comes to crankbait fishing, what we're experiencing today is kind of a rarity. The bite is so good, we haven't had an opportunity to really change out our lures much or change or experiment with colors. We haven't had to. We've caught fish on every single lure we have in the water and every single color we've had in the water. But generally, most days, that's not the way it's going to be. It's something I call working the gear. Once you get your lures out there, you're going to catch fish on some, you're not going to catch fish on others. And the ones that don't work, you're going to have to take those out of the program, and you're going to have to replace them with lures you're hoping are going to be more productive. Normally, when we're in an area where we are experiencing fish, where we're getting bit, I don't want to soak a crankbait more than 20 to 30 minutes without it producing the fish. If it goes 30 minutes and it hasn't gotten bit, we probably need to either change the lead length or change that lure out entirely. So working your gear is how you're going to catch more fish at the back of the boat when you're crankbait trolling. Now we're getting the mid-morning bite. That's what it was. It was the early morning bite. Now we're getting the mid-morning bite. We went maybe 20 minutes today without catching a fish all day long.
Now we got a double line, because mine's a good fish too, Dad.
Well, this is going to be interesting.
This will be every man for itself, I think.
Yours is looking like you can alley-oop that one. Mine's staying down. Yours is skiing. So,
how many feet away are you?
38 feet.
Okay, well, I'm just going to buzz this one in, because this is another good fish, but looks like yours might be a little bit bigger. You know, alley-oop a 20-incher. Here we go.
Oh, that's just putting it right to the max right there.
No, that's a nice fish, Dad.
I don't think we're going to alley-oop this. We're going to have to fight him normal.
There we go.
Fast net job, Jake. Good job. Oh, my goodness.
We don't have any rods out anymore, Dad.
No, we don't. We don't. In fact, actually, I do have one, but it just tripped. It's got a fish on it that's dangling back here. Hey, I'm Mark Romanack.
And I'm Jake Romanack.
I hope you had fun today on Fishing 411 watching us put the smack down on some eating-sized walleyes.
You gotta get out here and enjoy this awesome crankbait action.
Crankbaits, they will catch you fish.
We'll see you here same time, same place, next week.
Closed captioning is provided by Fishhawk Electronics.
Fishing 411 is brought to you by Offshore Tackle, your leaders in trolling technology. Yakima Bait, home of the rooster tail. Evinrude Outboards, introducing the E-Tech G2. Starcraft Marine, America's oldest aluminum fishing boat line. Jay's Sporting Goods, trust in the tradition. Cisco Fishing Systems, fish the finest. Smooth moves, smooth your ride.
Precision Trolling Data, the Troller's Bible, now available in an app.
This could only happen to the professionals.
Oh, we got speaking.
You like that, huh?